Hi everyone, welcome to another race analysis video. This is just a quick one looking at how teammates can change a dreadful race into a really successful race. So this is the Super Series 2021, this is round one. I've just jumped from Port Adelaide onto RoKiT Racing, which is the yellow and orange kits that you can see just ahead of you. Port Adelaide's just on my right in the black and white striped kit. There's a few other teams of note. The green team is ADX, they've got the sprinter Todd Rolton, and they've got a couple of really strong lead-out guys, especially Nick Chabrel, who's got the blue and black Trek just on the right there. He's got an enormous 500 or 600 watt lead-out for a lap and a half. There's a few other notes. The blue and red kit of the Norwood, guy just behind me, they've got a sprinter, Tom Baxter. He won a couple of rounds last year. He's got an absolutely enormous sprint at the end. SA Fabricators in the blue and white. They had two teams here today. Didn't seem to do a lot with their numbers. Transitions with the white, red and blue stripes just ahead. Louis Vandenberg on the yellow-greeny Canyon. He's got an enormous kick and a pretty big FTP as well. Port Adelaide's rolling around. Unfortunately, their sprinter got knocked off his bike by a dog last week, so he's out. And USG in the red are always present, animating the race a bit, although they've lost a few numbers this year. There's also a whole bunch of individual riders in varying kits throughout the race. A little bit of a sketchy moment here. There are a couple of inexperienced riders in the bunch this year. If you're looking just in the middle, you can see the guy in the red to the left. He's going to chase up behind his teammate and then cut across in front of the transitions guys. Ooh, just like that. There were a few complaints made, unfortunately, in this race about a couple of riders, and I think that was one of the incidents that nearly derailed the race. So this is a lap later, and this shows exactly how important it is to have teammates around you. So a break of 5's gone up the road. It's quite dangerous. It's got a couple of the big teams, Transitions, ADX, Norwood, are all in it, and it's got a couple of riders who are strong enough to actually make it work. So here goes one of my teammates. Now, what he does here is, rather than simply getting on the front and closing down the brake, he attacks to try to bridge across to it. And this does one of two things. Either people are going to go with him and gradually drag the whole field across, which is exactly what happens. And as you can see, I'm still doing 150 watts, and that bridge, that gap's just about being closed, and I've had to do absolutely no work. The other thing that can happen is he can get across to the brake by himself or with one or two others, and now we've got a guy in the brake. And this rider, he's one of our riders who is strong enough to stick with the brake and then potentially win from it. So by attacking across to it, he's given us a couple of options depending on what happens. Now, I say it's sort of sped up smoothly. A couple of gaps are beginning to open up, but once again, I've got riders in the front and I've got teammates in the back. And my team's big enough that we've got plenty of options. If I'm not in the front group, we've got 3 other people who could easily sprint for the win, or at least be competitive. But I'm confident that there's a big enough group ahead that people are going to want to close it down. And indeed, you see Norwood, Transitions, ADX, that's Todd Rolton on the right, who just went across there in the green. And I'm pretty confident that things are going to come back together, and indeed they do. So here we are coming into 2 laps to go. We've had some numbers at the front over the last couple of laps, but I think we got to the front a little bit too early. And at this point, ADX in the green are really putting on a masterclass of how to control the front. They've got Nick Chabrel with the blue and black bike. He's about to hit the front and just do a massive turn to keep them there. Todd Rolton is just coming up on the left, number 46, quads of Thunder. We've still got numbers at the front, but unfortunately through the washing machine I'm kind of starting to slip backwards. I'm trying to stick on a teammate's wheel, but I'm getting swamped a little bit from the right. At this point we've got a cross headwind, the wind's coming from the left to the right, so it's a bit surprising that we're not all the way into the gutter here, and I think I'm a bit lucky that ADX didn't push me all the way through. You can see Louis Vandenberg on my wheel in the back. It's in the greeny yellow Cervelo, sorry, I said Canyon before. He's someone to watch out for. I've got Craig, number 14, just ahead of me. And so now we're coming into sort of a bit over 1 lap to go. The pace is really hotting up. I'm reasonably comfortable with the fact that I've got a couple of teammates ahead of me, but I'm definitely further back than I'd like to be with 1 lap to go. And once again, coming through this corner, I have just hit the brakes a little bit, scrub off a little bit of speed, and now I've realised I'm well and truly out of position. I can see 3 of my teammates ahead of me, but I'm a little bit trapped, so I'm going to go around Port Adelaide, number 5 here. But as you can see, if I'm going to get to the front of this race, I'm going to have to do a real big kick, and Nick Jabrell's on the front just doing an enormous effort, and there's no way I'm going to get up to the front and have anything left if I'm going to sprint at the end. Fortunately, I've got a couple of guys here, and the plan was to absolutely hammer it from about this corner. Unfortunately, some of them have been doing quite a bit of work to keep things back together, and then Craig absolutely opens up the afterburners and goes around the outside with me on his wheel. Once again, we got really lucky that we didn't get completely slammed into the gutter here. Todd Rolton, who's the 3rd 80X rider in green up ahead, he should have had his wheel absolutely kissing that yellow line. And as it is, Craig manages to get me most of the way to the front before he blows up, and at that point the line's closing anyway. So we're coming into the bottom corner. Alex Maney goes a bit squirrely with his back wheel, which pushes me wide. I open up my sprint, as does Todd just ahead of me, and this is amazing. I'm doing 1,050 watts in his draft and I'm getting gapped off the back of him. He is an absolute machine. Coming around the corner, I go right around Alex, he goes left. You can see Tom Baxter coming up behind, and in the end Todd wins by a solid bike length, which is quite impressive given that he had the same issue that I did. He got gapped off by Alex's back wheel going all squirrely. And he had to make back quite a bit of ground as well, but that was a phenomenal sprint from Todd, and I think I got a bit lucky getting up to the front. So anyway, that's just a real highlight showing how important it is having teammates to get you to the front, even if you're out of position. A huge effort can honestly change the end of the day. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.